So my wife, like I said in my last video, you saw the new paint on my Glock 19 that I just did last night. My wife picked this color. Now, this is my wife's EDC. This is the first paramilitary 2 that I ever got that she absolutely loved, and I wound up, and just to be clear, this is my favorite knife I've ever owned, and she fell in love with it, so I gave it to her for her birthday. And obviously I maintain it, I keep it clean, I keep a very, very sharp convex edge on it, and S30V full flat grind with a convex edge pretty much stays sharp. It doesn't really take much for me to maintain this. Just on a side note, this G10 is so heavily used that it's almost smooth. Feels about like this felt does. I'm kidding. It is very worn and very smooth compared to how it usually would be, but it's by no means felt. So, my wife's very into greens and camo. She wears camo very often, and the knife kind of, like camo pants pretty much. And the knife kind of suits it very well. So, she picked this color that I just painted this Glock last night. And then she pointed out something to me. Today I have 2 knives in my pocket. First of which is for very delicate tasks. It's a Delica. Appropriately named, might I add. That's for real minor stuff, because this was also in my pocket. This is my ZT301. Just because the tip is not that great for getting like under zip ties and stuff. If I ever carry this, I usually mate it with something else. And since this knife's heavy and this knife's not, and the tip on that one's very delicate, gets under zip ties quite well, this is usually what goes with it. And the Delica will just sit down in my pocket, bottom of my pocket, and the 301 will be clipped to my pocket. But look at this color. They are so close to being identical. Now, Zero Tolerance calls this Ranger Green. It's not really showing its true color in video, honestly. I mean, these colors are just about identical. So anyone that has one of these, you know exactly what color this is, because it's just so close to being the same. So that's only one part of this video. This is my concealed carry gun. I do have this with me every day. If it's not on me, like if I'm at work, it's in my car. I do have this gun everywhere I go. And today this is what I was carrying, and I just love if I have it, it's pretty much constantly being flicked. And just so you can see, there is no stainless in this lock bar. That lockup has not changed one bit since I got it. It's like right at 50%, and that's where it's been the whole time. So I'm pretty sure Zero Tolerance carbonizes these lock faces, because that's the tang of the blade right there. And you can kind of see the marks that the lock bar makes on it. This is S30V, but like I said, just because this tip is pretty blunt, I usually made it up with something a little bit more delicate. So, my wife pointed that out to me while I was flicking this knife around, and she was right. They are the same fucking color. They are identical. But the reason for this video is wear on this paint. So, just so everyone can see what I'm talking about, how I get wear on my guns after I paint it, there's a little bit right there in the corner. if I could get it to focus. There you go, right on the corner of the frame. When I put this slide stop in, I just put a lot of downward pressure on it and just wiggle it back and forth really hard to scratch off the paint underneath it so it still works and actuates the way it's supposed to. So there's missing paint underneath it. You can see right there. I do that on purpose though. The only other real part that this gun has any wear so far are up here on the front of the grip, which that is actually done with sandpaper. I take some 800 grit sandpaper in this case, and I just wrap it around the end of my finger and just run it across here a little bit just to thin it out a little, as well as around pretty much this entire mag well. But since I don't really handle this side all that much because I'm a right-handed shooter, it just doesn't really get much of an effect right there. But it does thin it out around the grip right here. You can see the stippling. Well, it's not really stippling. This is just the factory finish on a Glock grip. You can see where the points, the peaks of those little bumps are kind of coming through. Now, even though this gun has only been painted for about, what time is it? 14 hours now. This gun has been painted for 14 hours right now as I'm recording this video. As soon as I'm done, I'll let it sit overnight. As soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do, I have already kind of scored it with sandpaper. I'll just sit here and just rub my hands all over it. Just a bunch of friction. And that's where those kind of, the little bumps like that come through. As you can see right here, you can kind of sort of see a little bit of this old green that I had on it. Just a little bit. Maybe not in camera, you can't. I can in person. It's very, very faint, but it's there, right on that ledge. And that's from me just putting a lot of friction on it. Not very much holster wear. Really the only spots are on these corners. Very, very minimal. Front trigger guide, that's the first time I noticed that one. That's really it so far. So, I mean, it's kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more.
It's no wonder Chrysler Group is America's fastest growing automaker. And now your local Chrysler dealer is offering
the grip really is the biggest one. That's where I actually do a little bit of sanding. You can see up inside of there the old green color. I still may wind up putting it back to that other color. I really liked it. But this is looking really cool right now, I think. Especially matching my ZT to that extent. That is quite a combo. That just looks outstanding, I think. So, that's that. A little bit of an update. Like I said, it's been 16 hours, sorry. That's how long it's been since I painted this. So I sprayed it, stuck it in the oven, preheated to 300 degrees for 15 minutes, let it cure pretty good. It gets nice and hot, then I just let it sit for about 10 minutes, which I didn't this time because I was showing it to you guys on video. That's why I had the slide on and I was holding it like this, because it was really hot. Then just with some 800 grit sandpaper wrapped around my finger, I'll just kind of wipe it in some key spots. Mostly it's up here, back here where I'm gripping it. Like right here, I actually sanded a little bit and I'm not getting any effect yet. Let me show you what paint I used for this one, because it's not the normal stuff that I use. Give me 1 second. Alright, my normal paint is Krylon Fusion. I really advocate that, especially with the little bit of wear I'm getting on this. get that. This is what painted it this time. Rust-Oleum camouflage. And you can see the colors are correct, but this is really better on metal, honestly, which that's the reason why I left the paint on here to use it as a primer, because I wasn't using Fusion, which is all Fusion is it's made for painting plastic. This does not have Fusion, therefore I left the paint on here as primer. I just didn't sand it at all, so I would still get wear through it and some of the other color coming through it, which I thought would look cool. We'll see if it does. I don't know if it actually will, but it's an easy enough correction if it doesn't look cool, so I'll just be stripping this off and putting some Krylon back on it. But this will be a good test as far as Rust-Oleum goes on plastic, at least with some sort of primer layer. So I'll have some updates if it gets bad or if I have to change it or something. I'm sure I'll make some videos and let you guys know. So see ya.